Hey guys, it's your Peacekeeper coming at you with our Captain Skills Update video for 0.6.0. We are here in the new Dragon Port looking at our Missouri to talk about those U.S. Battleship Captain skills. Let's get Mr. Peter Newton's skills up here. The first real thing that we need to talk about is really what skills are applicable, and there's a number of skills that are applicable in each tier, so I will go ahead and we'll just discuss them as we go. Priority target, there are a number of you that have expressed a desire to run this. Certainly you're welcome to run it. I personally think that, and assume that, as a battleship, if I'm detected, I'm the priority target, even if that's not true. It might be nice to know how many people are actually aiming their guns at me, but ultimately I just make the assumption, and probably a safe assumption at that everybody is. And certainly with the, Iowa, Missouri, Montana, North Carolina, if I have to make a change in direction, I'm going to do so from stealth. And so there are some of you that will choose that one. Preventative maintenance, I feel obligated to talk about preventative maintenance. I personally think it's the best skill at this level 1 captain skill branch. It reduces the chance of modules being incapacitated by 30%. That means your main guns, your engines, your rudder. That's really about all. It really actually impacts stuff that you can be driving along and have it disabled but not destroyed. It does not impact your anti-aircraft guns or secondaries. However, it does allow you to run the upgrade module. Instead of main armaments mod 1, you can run auxiliary mods 1, which allows your secondaries and AA guns to have better survivability. We'll talk about that more when we get to the anti-aircraft build. And then the direction center for Catapult Aircraft for an additional catapult fighter. And, well, it comes with the downside of reducing the airspeed of the Catapult Aircraft. I also feel obligated to point out that Wargaming in this patch has nerfed the time that the battleship fighter aircraft is in the air, and it went from being like 6 minutes to 90 seconds, so a minute and a half. Very short time to have two catapult fighters up. We'll talk about that skill more. Honorable mention, expert loader, but beyond that, nothing else really is available. I personally don't shoot anything but AP ever, so for me, expert loader is is one of the few skills that many people say, oh, you should take, but I personally don't. In the second row, we have high alert, 10% reduction to damage control party consumable cooldown. Jack of all trades, which reduces all consumable cooldowns by 5%. Expert marksman, and that's really about it in this line. We don't have torpedoes. I guess if you're Germans, but short range, don't need that. Don't have smoke, don't need any of these other ones either. Going down to the tier 3, basics of survivability, minus 15% to the time of repair, fire extinguishing, and recovery from flooding. I don't see any real use for survivability expert on a battleship. Even at tier 10, that extra 4,000 hit points isn't going to make a huge bit of a difference. Don't have torpedoes to really need to reload them quicker. Don't have aircraft to take off while we're on fire. Basic firing training reduces the reload time of your main... Well, it would if we had 139mm or smaller main guns. We don't, so we don't have to worry about that. However, it does increase the DPS of your AA guns by 20%. Superintendent for those extra consumables. And that's Vigilance. 25% to the range to acquire torpedoes. So those are really the skills that I see useful there. And then manual secondaries to decrease the dispersion by 60% above tier 7 and minus 15 below. Fire prevention, that's a interesting one. It used to only be 7%, now it's 10%. Note, that's not a raw change, so if you had a ship that had 20% fire chance, it doesn't lop 10% off that, it only lops 2% off of that. So it's multiplicative rather than straight subtraction. But the more important part is it reduces the number of fire sources on a ship to 3 from 4, and it combines the two middle ones. I've heard from a number of people that this is actually a pretty sweet little captain skill to run. Personally, not run it myself. We go over here to advanced firing training, which increases the range of your main battery guns if they're less than 139 millimeters. Again, don't have to worry about that. But more importantly, The 20% increase to AA range, which is absolutely important. Manual fire control for AA, 100% DPS added to all of your AA guns that are above 85 millimeters. For the US line, this is only going to be for the 5-inch dual-purpose mounts, the 5-inch 25s if you're Tier 7 and below, and the 5-inch 38s, and then eventually the 5-inch 54s on the Montana. Radio location or radio detection finder, radio position finder. This skill does have limited use. We'll talk about a build that might take advantage of that. And then, of course, Concealment Expert for the reduction in detection range by 14%, which is a huge reduction in battleship detection, and allows a Missouri or Iowa to get down to 12.2 kilometer detection range. So let's talk about the various different builds. Probably the most popular one in previous was the AA build. To accomplish that now, it got more expensive, but for the most part, things really haven't changed. Again, I've taken Preventive Maintenance. That allows you to run that Auxilary Mod 1 in that first slot to decrease the chances of your AA guns getting taken out, while also maintaining your main battery's resistance to incoming fire. Expert Marksman at Tier 2. Then I'm going to jump up to Superintendent. I would then jump to Manual Fire Control for AA. This gets those dual-purpose guns rocking and rolling right away. Then over to Advanced Firing Training. Then to Basic Firing Training. And at that point, you should be at 17 points. Your last skills can go into either High Alert or Jack of all Trades. Personally, I think High Alert is more useful. Jack of all Trades, if we were on a ship like a destroyer that had a lot of consumables or a cruiser that had a lot of consumables, Jack of all Trades would certainly have a much better all-around profile. But because we really only have our heal, our damage control party, and maybe radar or a scout plane, it's not a huge thing to get Jack of all Trades. So I'm sticking with High Alert for that one. So again, AA build, Preventive Maintenance, Expert Marksman, Superintendent, Manual Fire Control for AA, Advanced Firing Training, Basic Firing Training, High Alert. The secondary build is basically the same, except for we're trading Manual Fire Control AA for Manual Fire Control for secondary. So that build will be Preventive Maintenance, same reasoning as the AA build, Expert Marksman, Superintendent, Manual Fire Control for secondaries, AFT, BFT, and High Alert. Again, the Concealment build, which is kind of what I'm running here, is going to be Preventive Maintenance. You notice I'm not running the Direction Center for Catapult Aircraft. We'll talk about that in a minute. Expert Marksman, Superintendent, Concealment Expert, AFT, BFT, and then High Alert. That's 19 points. The Survivability Build. This build is focused almost entirely on tanking rounds, and as a result doesn't really have a whole lot of other offset. There are some ways that we could set this up slightly different, but for the most part it's going to be, again, Preventive Maintenance. And we're going to take High Alert, Superintendent, Fire Prevention, again, reducing the number of fire sources to 3 and making that middle one, which is the one that's most commonly set on fire, 1, making those 2 middle ones just 1, means that you're actually less likely to get multiple fires, which, I can see how that would definitely help. Vigilance, Basics of Survivability for the 15% reduction in repair time, fire extinguishing, and flooding. And Jack of all Trades, and then because we have an extra point to get to 19, you can take the Direction Center for Catapult Aircraft. Of course, the argument here is that this is predominantly dealing with shell fire. It has absolutely nothing to do with carriers. When carriers come back, this build is going to be at a severe disadvantage, even with the USAA, because you're not having the anti-aircraft suite there. You could trade a number of different skills. For instance, I would trade Vigilance for Basic Firing Training, And the reason for that is I can assume that if I'm detected and I can't see anything near me, that there's torpedoes coming around, or if I see a destroyer, I know that I should point myself at that destroyer. The chances of receiving torpedoes from him and getting hit by multiples is a lot less at that point. Basically, trading Vigilance for basic firing training means that you have to have much better situational awareness. And for people who have been playing US battleships for a very long time, that's a skill that you learn through the grind through the US battleship tree. So for me, ditching Vigilance isn't a big deal, but I would definitely trade Vigilance for basic firing training at that point. I would not add AFT at that point. I would keep the fire prevention, and I would rock everything else that I have there. Now, I mentioned that I don't really care for the Direction Center for Catapult fighters, and I just don't feel that this skill, with the reduction in the time that the fighter aircraft are in the air, really justifies taking it over Preventive Maintenance or over, say, Priority Target, or maybe Incoming Fire Alert if you really wanted to go that way. I just don't feel that they're up enough, and the Catapult aircraft themselves don't actually shoot down that many aircraft relative to your AA. The only thing that this would really be beneficial with is the scattering effect. You're more likely to get the scattering effect for any incoming torpedoes or dive bombers. I just don't see that as being all that useful. Anyway, those are kind of my ideas of what the different US battleship builds are. Again, I'm running that Concealment build. It seems to be the best balance of anti-aircraft firepower, survivability, and concealment. And I personally feel that build works the best for all of the US battleships. You can play around with things and let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Anyway, I'm your Peacekeeper. You guys know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.